Hello guys, welcome back to the Centre Strike podcast. Today we have a very special guest. We will be running through this person's amateur career, DP World career, injury and setbacks, PGA Tour career, and some quickfire questions at the end. So with no further ado, welcome Paul Waring. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here. I heard you mention PGA Tour career. That's a little bit slow at the moment, but yeah, we'll get on to that later on.
You're getting there. Go for it, Tom. Lead us away.
So before we get there, Paul, we'll start with your amateur career. So we'll roll back the years a little bit. So you just won the English Am 2005.
Yeah.
Off the back of that win, did you kind of see yourself where you are now? And, you know, off the back of that win, did you see yourself turning pro immediately? Or
yeah, it was a funny one, that. Obviously, the goal, I think, as a kid is to play pro golf, isn't it? You know, I think we all look at the Open, we all look at the Masters, we all look at those sorts of things, and we think, you know, I really want to go and play in those events. So for me personally, it was always that dream goal of going to play in these events and be a part of it all. But all the way through my career, I felt like whatever stage I got to, I kind of succeeded at that level. So it became a bit of a natural progression, if you know what I mean, without sounding too bullish when I say that. It just kind of one thing developed into another for me, really. But yeah, from there, I went to, where did I go from there? That was 05. I turned pro in 07. So I had another year of amateur golf. I wanted to play Walker Cup. That was probably my biggest thing. And sadly didn't get picked. So that would have been in 07, I think that team would have been. Yeah. I was part of the team in 05, went to Chicago Golf Club for like a bit of a tour of it to go and see it before the actual event. Didn't get selected in 05, and I went through 06, and then 07. Had a decent year, I thought. Qualified for the Open in Carnoustie.
Yeah, brilliant.
As an amateur. And then didn't get selected for Walker Cup. So I thought, well, I've had a couple of cracks at it here. I'm obviously not someone's cup of tea. I'll go to Q School instead. Yeah. So, and that's kind of where it all kind of went to. But on that, I think it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, because I didn't get picked for Walker Cup, so I turned pro pretty much immediately. And I was speaking to a management company at the time, and they turned around and offered me 6 starts on Challenge Tour. So I actually went and played 6 events on Challenge Tour straight after the Open, and actually got a Challenge Tour card up out of those starts. Brilliant. So I went to Q School without any real pressure, because I had somewhere, a great place to go and play for my first year. So I think I had the very fortunate situation of, okay, I got through Q School first time round, but I also didn't have the true pressure of Q School, if you know what I mean.
No, that's good. We did see that. Yeah, you missed out on Walker Cup and straight to Q School. So yeah, no, a good one. So like, obviously you're young back then. If you were to pick up the phone and call a young Paul Waring, what kind of advice would you give him back then?
Don't stress too much about the haircut, because it's going to fall out. Don't worry about the dark beard, that's going to go grey. No, I don't know. I think I'd probably remind myself a bit of patience. A lot of things in my career have come a little bit late. Obviously my first win came in my 200th start on tour. My latest win came at just before the age of 40. And everything that's sort of come from there has been sort of later on in my career. And I think that word patience would have been massive to me back when I was 24, 25. And I kind of had I'd say frustrating start to my career. I felt like I had, a decent amount of potential. I worked pretty hard at what I was doing. I made a few sacrifices along the way, but I just had, we'll get onto it, probably was a few injuries along the way that kind of set me back, knocked me back. And, I'm kind of lucky the injuries came early, because I was young enough to kind of get on with it, and it didn't affect my mind, if you know what I mean. I wasn't, I didn't sort of doubt myself, because I was young, and you just don't when you're young, do you? So I think, I wouldn't swap my career for anything. So obviously to go back and tell myself, just chill out.
Brilliant.
It'll all come right in the end. That's that'd be.
So yeah, like going into that, like that first Nordea Masters, wasn't it, that you won? Did you believe that you would be a winner in the DP World one day?
Weirdly, I suffer with a bit of imposter syndrome. Definitely, I still see myself as very much one of the lads. Like I'm just going to use the word like normal lads. I play golf and are pretty good at it, and I just enjoy my life and kind of get on with it type thing. So while I'm always trying to compete and do well and all that sort of thing, I definitely I wouldn't say I have that deep-rooted belief someone like Rory McIlroy has, where he's openly turned around and said, you know, I believed I was going to be world number one.
Yeah.
That's not me at all. I am not cut from that cloth. I am very much.
Would you see yourself as a grafter, be hard worker to get to that stage, or would you see it as more just of a natural talent?
Yeah, weirdly, I feel like when I'm sounding again overly cocky or anything, I do feel like I've got quite a lot of talent for the game. It comes to me quite easily, and this is going to sound really funny, but the more I practice, it seems to go quite easily as well. So I tend to, if I do a lot of work, it doesn't make me a better player all the time. I tend to, don't know, if I go into an event feeling like, I've done all my bits, all that, I'm raring, ready to go. 81, 82, miscut, back home. And it happens every single time. So I've kind of learned in my career to be a bit more sort of placid, laid back, down to earth. And again, I think just be that bit more humble in the fact of things of, well, if it comes to me, it comes to me. But again, that leads to that mentality of...
That's good though. That like shows like everybody's different. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, you know, some people have to work their nuts off to get somewhere in the game, you know, and you know, other people just it comes to them different.
And I respect massively the guys that graft the balls off, you know, because there are guys out there and you see them week in, week out on the range, and they put in a lot more time than I do, if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, they do. It's just, I feel like I manage my time well. I have very structured practice. It's not for 7 hours a day, but there's goals behind my practice. It's kind of things I've learned over the years with, you know, games, training, practicing under pressure, making sure that those 50 balls that I do hit, everyone counts. So that sort of thing.
Would you see it more as like a performance practice versus technical?
I'm very, very, very much performance practice. Like, I'm not one of those guys that go to the range for therapeutic reasons to just dig a hole in the dirt. You know, I've heard Pete Cowan use the term, you know, the answer's in the dirt, and he's, you know, totally right for some players, but for me, it's never quite worked out that way. I've never linked true performance on a golf course to me doing that kind of work outside of it, if you know what I mean.
Fair, yeah.
Cool.
So like diving back into like kind of that first win, like going put yourself in, put the viewers into your shoes. What's it like going into contention in the last round there? What's going through your mind?
Well, that was my 200th start. What year was that?
2018.
Yeah.
So I've been on tour for 10 years at that point.
Yeah.
So
you feel quite like a veteran.
I kind of knew what was coming. I led in the Portugal Masters through 3 rounds when David Lynn won. I can't remember what year that was. I finished third. It was one of those years where the wind got up in the afternoon, and I remember shooting at quite a gritty level par and quite a tough wind, and I think the early guys went out and shoot 6, 7, 8 under par, and it was kind of just wasn't my day in that regard. I think I learnt more from that situation than anything else. Again, coming back to that being patient, sticking in, getting through 9 holes, see where you are through, you know, with 9 holes to play. You know, we all joke about it, but it is all down to the back 9 on a Sunday. It doesn't matter whether it's the Masters talking about that, or the Nordea Masters, or a Challenge Tour event, or, you know, it doesn't matter what it is. It's all about that Sunday 9 holes. So I can't remember. I think I was tied for the lead. I don't think I was an outright leader alongside Thomas Aitken. Thomas Aitken, But it was one of those things that, like, if people ask, "Oh, were you nervous? Were you nervous? Were you nervous?" It was like, of course I was. Like, it's like I'm trying to battle for my first win. If I'm not nervous, there's something seriously wrong with me. And anyone would be nervous in that situation. And I think when you accept those realities that you're just nervous, and again, this doesn't matter whether you're leading a club championship or anything like that. If you accept these little things, and I've said to my wife a few times, you know, if I'm in the mix or whatever, I'm a terrible person on Saturday night. I'm really grumpy. I know this. I'm not going to eat properly. I'm not going to sleep very well. You just know all these things are in front of you. There's no point in trying to hide it, because that just takes up more energy. You know, it's almost like, well, just accept how you feel, and you can guarantee the guy next to you is feeling exactly the same. So you can kind of embrace it a little bit. And what was the other one? Pressure equals, what is it, privilege or something like that?
Pressure.
People who feel it's a privilege to feel it and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it's very, very true, and you've got to be almost a bit of an adrenaline junkie at times to almost
thrive off that
feeling. And you do. I can't, we'll get onto it again, but like even shots I hit in that round, I can still remember them and how good they were. The shots that I think you drive the ball a little bit further, your eyes are focused a little bit better. It's weird. It's it definitely sharpens you a little bit, and I can see why the level when you see guys playing Ryder Cups and sort of back nines in a major, how they elevate their game. They're not trying to elevate it; they just naturally do because of the situation around them. And it's amazing. I'm in great awe of some of like our sort of players that are around us all the time, and doing these amazing things around the world.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Love that. Just obviously going through those years in European Tour, and you're maybe slightly younger, were there any guys that you leaned on or walking down the range and saw someone and go, I'd love to ask him a question or a bit of advice? Was there anyone that you approached during that period?
I was taken under the wing of a few players when I first came out, really. Some of the older guys now, really. Stevie Gallagher was always brilliant with me. Weirdly, I'm good friends with Danny Willett, and he introduced me to Sergio Garcia. And Sergio, again, brilliant with me. I didn't met him a few times, but every time I see him, he's always brilliant, asking how I am. I grew up playing amateur golf with Rory.
Cool,
It's like I kind of know quite a few of these guys now, and it's amazing when you are around a bunker on a short game area, or you're out of a bit of rough, or you're just trying to hit a little flop shot, something like that. It's amazing how you can turn to any one of these guys and go, how do you do this? It is amazing, because a lot of them will go, well, I do this, that and the other. Some won't, and there's some, don't get me wrong, there's some people who are socially inept, but there's also people that want to keep all the secrets to themselves and all that, and I get that, that's fine, but there's certain guys out there that are willing to help you. And again, I'm that older guy now, and if one of the young lads was to ask me a question, of course I'm going to answer him. I'm going to try and help him along his way. And I think and we'll get onto this down the line about America as well, because I don't think that would be the case in America as quite as much. I think the European Tour is a very different animal to PGA Tour. Very much so.
Okay. That's good. I love Sergio, man. I love hearing things about Sergio. Did you play with Sergio?
You know what? I've never actually played with him. Never actually played with him. I think I played practice rounds with him. Okay. But I've never played in a tournament with him.
Played practice rounds with him?
Played practice rounds with him.
I'm going to ask you a really stupid question. How good is he?
Yeah, but
is he just an absolute flusher?
Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, it's just because when I got to know him, he was back to hitting that little 4-yard cut, just that little tiny fade. But it's things like his short game, his creativity, his feels, Spanish-esque. He's a proper European golfer. You know what I mean? He's an old school European golfer, and to be fair to him, he does shift it as well, though. He does hit it properly. He's a proper player.
Brilliant. Okay. 2024. You're winning Abu Dhabi, Paul. Career low 61. Had to wait 6 years for your next win. First of all, what was the turning point in that win at Abu Dhabi? What kind of clicked for you that week?
In the week, it was walking off the course, shooting 1 over on Saturday. Right. That was when I actually believed I could win, which is mad. Right. So I had a 5-shot lead going into Saturday, and I was absolutely bricking it on Saturday. Okay. And I still came out the day 1 in front. And it's kind of like playing 4 rounds week in, week out, you always have a bad day. Yeah. And when you're at top of the leaderboard, you only ever have one. And I know this, again, because I've done it for so long now. I knew my bad day was out the way. Right.
See, when you're saying
1 in front.
Sorry, there. See, when you're saying when you're breaking it, right?
Yeah.
Is that from the first tee to the 18th green?
It's warming up on the range.
Really?
It's like how you get out of bed. You just have a day where this is going to be a grind, this is going to be hard. And what doesn't help is the amount of pressure on you as well. Again, you're going through all the things I was talking about before, and you're trying to keep yourself level-headed, but you're also frustrated in the fact that your body's not moving as well as what you want it to. You're not thinking as clearly as what you want to. Your hands, your feel, your touch with the putter's not as good as what you want it to be. Yeah. So you kind of have this added frustration. So kind of my goal, I was 5 in front going into Saturday. anyone else would have been, your goal is to try and extend your lead. And that was the initial goal of the day, but it clearly wasn't happening. So then the goal's got to shift a little bit. How do you get a win out of this? One win is if I can keep myself in front, playing like this, I've got a great chance on Sunday now. And I was more nervous on the Saturday than I was the Sunday.
Right.
I kind of knew I'd give myself a chance. You can't always tell what someone else is going to go and do. It was a golf course. It was scoreable that week. Someone could have shot 59 that week.
Yeah.
You knew someone might have had a run at you. And again, because you know that, and you're only one in front against these guys is nothing, by the way. You've got to go out with a very single mindset of go as low as you can. So there wasn't any, should I guard here, or should I not take this flag on, or should we hit 4-iron down this tee, not take that trap on the driver. It was, no, it's driver down there, it's at that flag, it's aggressive with this putt. It was that message all day. So because of that, you're very clear and sort of driven towards one single goal, if you know what I mean. Rather, you know at any point you're like, oh, hang on, we don't quite know what's going on. And also Alex McCaddy was brilliant as well. Like me and him, I said to him, look, I'm not going to look at a leaderboard. I'm just going to go and do my thing, and you manage me.
On the Sunday?
On the Sunday.
On Sunday,
yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so there was a moment on Sunday where I hit it through 18 in 2.
Yeah.
Talk us about that shot.
Well, I didn't think I could hit it. So it's funny, like looking back at it now, because I've seen a bit of footage and people have told me, people screaming at TV going, why is he not laying up? Why is he not laying up? No, that wasn't even in my head. That was nowhere near my mind at all.
Yeah.
I think, was it tie for the lead or one in front? I can't remember where I was actually. No, I was one in front. Yeah. That's how much I didn't know, by the way. My man said, I can't remember in the situation if I was one in front or tied.
So you're genuinely on the
genuinely
fairway?
Didn't know.
No idea?
No idea.
And,
no idea. I knew the pot on 17 was big for something. I knew that was for something. Didn't know what or what it could be. My attention then was 18, trying to make 4 down 18. So, yeah, and I'd hit that shot at the fairway twice already that week. One of them on Friday to shoot 61, because I had to hack it out the left rough and knocked it into like 4 or 5 feet and hold it to shoot course record. And I hit a real solid one on the Saturday as well. So I've hit this shot a couple of times in a week already from pretty much exactly the same spot. I know what I'm doing. And because I look back at it now, and you guys must have played Yas a few times.
I used to work there.
Yeah. That layup is disgusting.
Yeah,
it's just
awful.
That's horrible.
It's so bad. Yeah.
When you stood there, okay, it's clear as day when you look at it on a TV, and they've got the lasers out and saying it's what number to here and it's what number to carry here, and the commentators are talking you all through it. You don't get the laser information. You think, well, it's that bush, but you can't really miss it left of that. And it's got to.
The visual is horrible, isn't it?
It's horrendous. It's a really well designed golf hole for that. It really is. So again, that wasn't even in my head, because again, the worst thing I can do here to that flag is miss it a million yards that way.
Yeah.
And also, left of the flag, there's a big bunker before the water has it anyway. And again, if you think about it, layup, you missed the layup, play 2, hit 3, you're hitting 4 from there. If I miss the second shot in the water down by the green, I'm hitting the 4th shot from around the green, up and down, make 5. Where I feel like the layup brings 5 or 6, especially to that pin. We saw Shane Lowry have a couple of times up and down to that pin, and a couple of guys made bogey and stuff. So anyway, as I say, it wasn't even in McCaddy's head. He hasn't even mentioned layup. Anyway, so hit it, and I've got it. I must say, half a dimple high in the face. And it's just taking this little bit of spin off it, because it was like 260 or 70 into the front edge of the green, 305 long, into a 10, 12 mile breeze. Thinking there's no way it's going to go along. Just jump on it, just hit it. Like don't dolly on this, just stand there and make a proper golf swing. Absolutely ripped it. I was like, oh, that's a good one. So kind of, obviously it's pitch front edge, obviously skin on the footage, and it kind of run out, but we've seen the ball kind of run off towards green, and we thought, that's pretty sad. I think Al almost went to give me putter there and then. Anyway, didn't. Walked up. And obviously, as you're walking up, you're kind of speaking to Shane Lowry and Nicholas Norgard's another one of my mates, speaking to the caddies. We're just having not a bit of a laugh, but, we're having a bit of a chat as we're kind of walking up. Shane's telling us a couple of stories about when his wins on the way up and all that. I'm not thinking I've won this yet, by the way. He's just we're just kind of just talking.
Yeah.
And as you get up there, you're kind of looking, aren't you? And there's my ball here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was all over the flag. And then for a split second, you go, oh, it's in the hole. You know what I mean? Because everyone's gone bananas behind the green because I've knocked it on in 2. And you're thinking, oh, have I just missed something here? And then you get up there and you figure out, no, it's down through the back. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Oh, here we go. This is not done and dusted.
Yeah.
So I remember I got down through the back and it was all shaved. And obviously you've played Yas links a few times. We all know the fairways run at 10, 11 on the stimp themselves. So there's no surface to them.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to bounce a wedge. It's quite easy not to strike it pure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get over the ball, have a little look at it. And it's the first time I said to Al, do we need 2 or 3 from here?
He did ask him,
And he went, 3 gets a job done. I was like, we'll give it a buzzer then.
Is that right? Yeah.
Because there was a couple of sprinklers on my line.
Yeah.
That if I was chipping it would have been directly over them and then trying to hold it. But I've had to go a little bit left of them, which is why the putts run round so far.
Of course, yeah.
Sort of 8, 10, 12 foot left, wherever it was. So.
Yeah.
But I knew then I had 2 from there. And I can guarantee you, that was the most nervous I've ever been, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
2 putting from 10 foot down the hill for $1.5 million.
Yeah.
It's,
See, like,
Where did you
get
feel
to-
that when you're...
Oh, your hands are shaking, you're shaking.
Body, everything.
Yeah, you've got adrenaline running through you. And again, you've got 10 foot down the hill. All of a sudden, you cannot remember the pace of the greens. You've just got to purely now
Just
rely
blank.
on instinct.
Yeah.
When you see guys make a simple mistake like that under pressure, it's because they have no control over the body at that point. They are purely relying on
instinct,
what they've got. And, to actually hold it, I had no idea. Because honestly, on the way back, the putter went inside, big loop, figure of 8, kind of hit it out the heel a little bit, pushed it down the line, and kind of went in. I don't know what happened, but it was it's mad.
We had Mansell on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he when he won in Singapore, he was saying like is there any negative thoughts? Because he was like, got a putt for the win. Don't leave it short. And he's like, oh my God, why am I thinking don't leave it short?
It's like from 5 feet.
Was there
sorry,
anything
don't
like that
shit.
came into your head? Like, did 3 putt from that 10 feet come into your head? And
Of course it did, yeah. Because you at that point, because the other thing is, well, all day I haven't known. My caddy's told me, I know now. I know what the task is. I know what I've got to actually do. So I know as long as you don't 3-whack from 10 foot, you're fine. But it is downhill. It is a bit left to right. It does get away from you. But also don't leave it 4 foot short.
I remember going down the last few holes there. I think 16 was so important for you. Is it 16 or 15? 15
I'd say 14, 15 were big.
Yeah.
Because there was a 6 foot putt on 14 because I made a bit of a hash of it.
Yeah.
And then 15, again, hit a bad tee shot.
Left, weren't you?
Yeah, left. Knocked it onto the green, but miles away because the pin was back left.
Yeah.
So the only portion of the green I could get to was front right out of the lie. And hit that up to 5 foot. And I actually remember that 5 footer. It was kind of up the hill, right to left, and it was so pure.
Yeah.
And you hold something, I was kind of like, that really settled me down. I was like, right, I'm okay.
Yeah.
If we can hit a putt of that quality under this pressure, we'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Amazing.
Okay, so going into 2019, you had a really good year.
Yep.
So like setbacks, Paul. COVID 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
So good year, and then kind of started to struggle a little bit. You want to talk us through that?
Yeah, I've been quite open with it in sort of other podcasts I've done, other little videos, other little snippets. COVID and lockdown and everything that came with that really, honestly affected me quite a lot. I felt like my freedom was taken away from me a little bit. My purpose was taken away from me. It was a sort of. It was a kind of, we talk about the straw that breaks the camel's back. It was just these little increments of things that kind of built up on me, really. Because we introduced PCR testing. Remember that back in the day? We were doing all that.
Awful, isn't it?
So we had to PCR test to go to events, but then we also had to PCR test to leave events and come back. And if you failed the PCR, then you were kind of stuck in a place on your own for a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, or wherever it was. And it's not in a 5-star hotel either.
Yeah.
It's in a government facility
Crazy,
where
eh?
you're fed through a hatch. It's basically going to prison.
Yeah.
So I ended up with a bit of anxiety about that every week. About I don't really want to go and do these things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't really want to go and play. But at the time, we didn't know what the tour were going to do about a safety net possibly, or they're going to just make us play, and if you lose a card, you lose a card. So you still got to go and try and play under these conditions, which when you look back now, and I understand why, because there's TV deals, you have to put so many tournaments, the tour has to put so many tournaments on. The European tour isn't exactly flush with cash. I understand completely the dynamic why that had to happen, and I get it. But the protection for the actual players and the lads struggling wasn't well. It was there because there was a safety net. They did introduce a safety net, within the categories. That if you didn't quite keep a card, that you'd get so many events the following year, basically. So there was an option, but again, we didn't hear about that until later on in the year. And I think that was year 2 of it. The first year was in Qatar. It got cancelled. We just didn't play.
Okay.
So it was in Qatar when it all kicked off, and everything started shutting down for the first time. I remember getting back from Qatar, and then the next week the UK went into full lockdown. And then there was just no golf. And then the following season was kind of like when they were trying to piecemeal it together. And then there was talk of, well, are these rankings going to count? What's all that sort of thing? And we got halfway through the year before they decided, well, we might not have the rankings counting, and we might do a safety net. We might do this, that, and the other. And so you're still playing in these conditions and under these circumstances, not knowing that if you might then lose your job at the end of it.
Yeah.
And at the time, it's like, well, the world shut down. There's no other jobs available because.
Was that going through your head at that point?
Well, of course, it's like I'm quite a realistic person. It's like, well, if I lose a card, then I'm going to have to go. Well, is there going to be a Q school this year? Is there going to be those things to actually get my tour card back? Because if the main tour's in this state, what's going back onto Challenge Tour going to be like? And then there's no. It just didn't seem like there was any light at the end of the tunnel. And like I say, that really. And look, I'm very conscious. I'm saying things like this, and I'm a professional golfer. I know there's a lot of people in this world that are nowhere near as fortunate as I am, and I get that. But, and I've said it on a few other things, someone can't have depression worse than somebody else. It's your realisation and it's your reality of what it is. So it can be just as painful for someone who's very, very fortunate in their life to someone who isn't. It's just mental health's a bit of a pig like that. You can't do much about it. So it was kind of like, as I say, it was all these things that came together for me, and it just got to a point where I actually went the other way and just stopped caring. Just everything went a bit dark, and there was no real life in the world. Struggled to get out of bed. Didn't want to go and practice. Didn't want to play. And then you get to a point where you just don't want to play golf. You don't want to get out of bed. You barely want to eat. You barely want to do anything. You just want to sit there with a bottle of wine. That's all you want to do. You want to find some way of getting out of this situation mentally. I had a few too many wines here and a few too many beers. Some guys I imagine would have turned to drugs or whatever. You can kind of see how this roller coaster spiral kind of start affecting people, and until you're actually in that situation, it's hard to see it. Like before that, I wouldn't have never have understood it. If I'm being totally honest, someone came to me, I've got depression, I'd be a bit like, well, sort yourself out and on you go.
What is that?
Until you can actually live it, it's like, wow, this is actually quite a powerful thing that
you only really realise as well, like when you're actually out of it, like you don't
want to help yourself when you're in it. That's the other side of it. You're not.
You don't
willing.
see it, do you?
Yeah, it's almost like it's so encompassing. It's so sort of totally draining of you as a person. You almost you can't see the wood for the trees. You can't speak to that other side of you and say, come on, mate, just get up and go for a run. Get up and go and have a walk. Go to the gym. Go and do something. You just can't see it. Where now you look back and you go, oh, I wish I'd done that. But in the situation, you just can't. It's scary. It really is.
So see now we are now, Paul, obviously you've come, out with that. When it comes, obviously you talked about your range work and practice of golf. Is there any element of mental training that you do now and anything that you work on?
I always did. I always had a mental coach. And I think you've got to split, what you want from mental coach into two brackets personally. I think there's the personal side of it, of who you are, trying to work it yourself, meditation, sort of, that sort of thing. And then there's using the psychology from the sports performance side of it. So I think one needs to be relatively clinical in like a personal profile in who you are. And then the two can link, but I think you've got to have an understanding of both. So traditionally, I always had the sport psychology performance side of it, where going through this, I actually reached out to a more clinical person for this, because it was something, like I say, I've never really experienced. It's a funny thing, the psychology with it, and as I say, it's like I said before, I jokingly said about imposter syndrome and that sort of thing. That can all be linked into the performance. It can. You can talk about need to achieve personalities, need to avoid failure personalities, and the worst thing you can do is try and be one or the other. When you're clearly one of those things, you can't. If you're a need to avoid failure person, you can't force yourself to be a need to achieve. But what you can do is use that mentality to still find motivation. So for someone like myself, who's more in that need to avoid failure camp, I can deem what failure is and make sure my practice and my training and everything else is so I avoid failure. But I can still use that as a positive. Where my failure could be not winning. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to win, but I'm still trying to avoid the failure of not winning. So it's just then termed differently in your brain, if you know what I mean. So it's those sorts of things you kind of learn a bit more about yourself.
Well, thank you for being so honest. And
no, it's fine. It's like, and it's one of those things, because there's people in the world that don't talk about it, and it's quite sad. It's one of those things that talking about it does help.
Definitely,
and I'm pretty sure there's loads of people that can can help you.
Very good. PGA Tour, Paul. First year in the PGA Tour. Biggest challenges you've faced versus playing DP World? What's the kind of difference for the viewers? What would you say?
Biggest thing for me is I ended up moving to this wonderful city that we live in now a couple of years ago. Obviously helps with travel on DP World Tour between Asia and Europe. 6 hours into Asia maximum, 4 hours back to Europe maximum, and all of a sudden my next flight's 14 hours and 10 hours worth of jet lag over to the other side of the planet. So I'd say the travel at the moment has been the biggest thing for me. Playing DP World Tour, Europe and Asia, I tended to try and get there on sort of Tuesdays and kind of just have my week, kind of get in and get back out again, try and do as much of my practice as I could away from events and turn up ready to go and play. I think that's been one of the biggest things for my longevity of my career, is that I've kind of kept that quite good, where I'm practicing, doing my bits at home, getting to a tournament, doing that, getting back out of there. So now going to America and having runs of 4 or 5 weeks, because again, I'm starting from the bottom now on the PGA Tour. I don't have the ranking I have on the DP World Tour, where I can really pick and choose. I'm between I'm quite low down on that list, so I'm having to wait and see if I get into events. So I'm getting to tournaments sort of not quite prepared, not quite over the jet lag and those sorts of things. I'm not making an excuse that I've played rubbish, by the way, and it's not because of that, but it's just that's been one of the challenging things to remember how hard that is. And I don't help myself either, if I'm totally honest. I've got no desire to go and live in America, is the other thing. I don't really want to leave this place. I love this town, I love this country.
It's good.
That's what I mean. It's amazing. I just don't want to go. I don't want to live over there, so I'm trying to do my best with sort of the travel, coming back and forth as much as I can, if you know what I mean. So
Have you got a team around you over there that you can spend a bit of time with, or even other players that you...
So there's a good group of lads over there, and again, people like Danny Willett offered me, I can go and stay at his house in Florida when I need to and all that sort of thing. But again, if I'm doing 3 weeks in a run, I'm going to do 3 weeks and then come back to Dubai, as much as I can. For a couple of events, I did go back to the UK for the odd couple of days here and there, just, maybe for a week, if there's a week between tournaments, just to try and break it up. But again, it's like, there's nothing worse than being away and just waiting around for the next tournament. You just, I personally feel, everyone's different. I personally feel like you're just treading water, and then you turn up at the next event, not with that hunger of and excitement of, I'm at the next event, here we go type thing. You kind of, I do anyway. I turn up a bit flat. Like I'm almost, I'm ready to get out of here now. I've been away for 3 weeks and I've only played, this only my second event. You know what I mean? It's quite difficult in that regard. But yeah, that, as I say, even without that travel though, I must say the standard on the PGA Tour is very, very good.
I was going to be on our next question.
It is very, very good. Go on. Fire away the question.
No, just like boys that you play with over there, you've gone like, wow, like he's impressed me.
Yeah, it's a depth more than anything. They do not let one golf shot get away. They do not waste a golf shot. It's amazing. They are very different to how you're brought up to play golf in Europe and in the UK at times. So I was around the time Tiger was doing well, and 2-iron everywhere. So everyone's like, you've got to be super safe off the tee. That's what the stats are saying. You've got to be super safe off the tee. But what the stats weren't saying back then, that he was the best iron player by a mile. And he was better with a 4-iron than most people were with a 8-iron. Yeah. So it's kind of like those stats don't really work together. But no, these guys over there, they just know how to score. And I think this is something we always forget about in golf. It's all about the score.
That's it, yeah.
66 beats 67. Yeah. That's it. It doesn't matter how you go about it.
How you do it.
It's a scoring sport.
Forget the aesthetics.
And it's so easy for us to get lost in ball striking and doesn't that prick golf swing look pretty, and how hasn't he won more when he swings it like that? Well, that's only by design. That's only a third of the game, maybe even a quarter of the game. Yeah. Putting by design is actually 50% of the game. If you think about it.
Yeah, of course.
You're meant to have 36 putts in a round of golf on a par 72. It's 50% of the game just in that. Yeah. So then add in a bit of short game, then work inside 100 yards. All of a sudden we haven't even hit a golf shot yet. And we've done 65% of actual golf. It's amazing, isn't it, when you actually start thinking about it in that regard. And this is what they are so good at. Because all they do is they make sure they get driver down to a place they can score from. So
see, from like a social aspect as well, like kind of like Tim was telling me that you travel with like Matt Baldwin, Alan Sully all the time.
Yeah, Marco Peng as well. Yeah.
Did you miss the crack with the boys?
Oh, do I? I miss those boys like mad. I don't think they miss me, but I miss them. We've kind of we've got a group WhatsApp. It's me, Alex, my caddy, obviously Marco, Sully, and Baldwin. Another caddy's actually just joined it in mine and Alex's absence, which I'm not too happy about, but he's a good lad, he's fine.
Brilliant. I'm sure there's a few stories.
There are. There's not many for this podcast, but yeah, there are.
I'm sure Sully's not PG, like, you know.
Turn the microphones off.
But on that though, it's quite funny because even in that group, there's still a very competitive edge between the four of us. You know, it's like we are, me and Sully especially. I know for a fact, because his caddies told me, if me and him were kind of close in a tournament, he'd see my name on a leaderboard or something. He'd be right guy, come on, we've got to beat him. We've got to beat him. And that's amazing, because it kind of like, especially last year in 24, we kind of, if you noticed, we played all right. We played solid that year. Yeah. Before I won, I think we were going to be playing the finals and all that, but there wasn't any real standout moments. There weren't like that many seconds or thirds. It was kind of top 10, 12th, 8th, 10th, 25th. It was just real solid result after solid result after solid result without those real fireworks. So we were kind of like nip and tuck the whole year. It was amazing. Like we were all just I was ahead of him, he was ahead of me, and it was so funny.
Group chat,
it was so funny because, like, obviously you'd screenshot your position on the order of merit and like Sully's name below. It's like, I know you're short in height, mate, but you're also short in stature. You know, something like that. I think it was great the amount of banter we gave each other.
It does sound good crack on the tour, like
it is, and I do miss that. It's something that doesn't really exist over there, and if I'm honest though, I've got to know a few good lads over there, and there are a few really, really, really good lads on the PGA Tour. It's just different by design though. So the more I've done it, the more I've kind of figured out why it's different. Like on European Tour, we have like a official hotel every week, effectively. So We get a rate in a hotel, half decent rate. Everyone has stayed there because that's where the courtesy cars and the tournament buses would be going from to take us to the golf course and to and from every day for the players and the caddies. So you kind of like land at the airport, you put in a car or on a bus with all the other lads, you turn up at reception, you check in, you come down the next morning for breakfast, and everybody's just at breakfast. So everyone's there, and you see everyone straight away.
Yeah.
You get to the golf course, everyone's just there. You leave, you go back to the hotel, everyone's there. So you spend your time with this 156 man, plus caddies, plus staff, travelling circus, and you just go week by week, all together. PGA Tour, you get given a car every week, which is brilliant also because you get a bit of freedom now. But that also means you can stay in any hotel, any Airbnb, anything you want within this vicinity on the golf course. So I felt like when I first went to PGA Tour, on European Tour, DP World Tour, sorry, we would arrive and if you had a tournament in Singapore, the whole thing was part of the tournament from the moment you got on that plane to the moment you left. It was all about the Singapore Open. Everything about your land.
Everything's in the one place.
Everything's just there for you. You get into America and there is the Valero Texas Open at this golf course. That's it. Figure the rest out yourselves. It's like as long as you're there to tee off on your tee time on Thursday, that's all that matters. Do you understand what I mean? The difference of it.
Before the week starts, you've maybe not seen...
You haven't seen anyone.
Yeah.
I got to know Justin Rose a little bit after playing Team Cup start of the year. And again, he's been brilliant with me. So every time I see him at an event, I always make sure I go and say hello and, just have a quick 5 minutes chatting with him. Again, he's one of those guys that's, been brilliant along the way. And then played Canada last week and walked, I think I was on my 21st hole. And next minute, Justin walks past me, all right, mate, the new year this week. It's someone that I kind of like look for a little bit, and I haven't seen him once before Friday afternoon. Amazing.
From what you said, that all that time in DP World, all your pals and
a big change,
a few drinks, total different.
Oh, it's totally different. Totally different. It is totally different. But as I say though, there's a couple of lads that you kind of get to know and you kind of see, and there's. The banter does exist there. It does. Right, okay. It's just not as much of it, and you don't go for like dinner with everyone like you do on our tour, where it's like, we're gonna have, if you had a good day, I'm gonna have a beer in the bar before heading out or something like that. That doesn't happen. But it's it is different.
Cool. Okay, some quickfire questions here, Paul.
Crack on.
So, given your time on DP World and PGA Tour, you're going to build a golfer for us.
Okay.
So you can only pick the player once.
Yeah.
So we'll start with driving.
Rory McIlroy.
Well, he's come up a few times, hasn't he?
Let's go in with driving.
Iron play.
I know it's meant to be quick fire. Can I go with Sergio Garcia? He's on live.
It's like chipping around the green with a wedge.
I'm trying to think of the best person I've seen with that. You know what? Some of the flop shots he can hit. Bobby
really?
McIntyre. Honestly, some of the shots he can hit with a wedge.
Really?
Oh, unbelievable.
It's good to see him do well.
Just on that, on Bob, right? My cousin was in the same Scottish team with him, and they used to be in the hotel, and there'd be a little seat up, and he'd land balls on top of the seat.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was that good.
Oh, no, off a tight lie, he can hit it up his nose with control.
Really?
He's a joke, yeah.
We asked Mansell this, and he gave us John Parry. Remember?
Oh, yeah, Paz is class, by the way.
Sorry, John. We know you're good, but yeah.
We love you, John. Cool. Putting, yeah.
It's funny doing this because if my caddy was like here, he'd say a name as well, and I go, oh yeah, but it's so hard to think about it, of all the players I've played with. Who's that person that looks like they're not going to miss? Tyrrell Hatton.
Yeah. Tyrrell Hatton's a good one, eh?
Amazing. Yeah.
He's impressive with the putter.
Finally, mindset.
Oh, so I could go a bit. Can I have him from a couple of years ago?
You can, as long as you've played with him yet.
Brooks Koepka.
Yeah.
Class.
I think if he's in with a sniff, a tournament he wants to play in, I think he's...
A couple of years ago, do you think he's gone off the boil a wee bit mentally?
I don't know. I just don't think he's put himself in a position to remember who he is, if you know what I mean. Fair. And also, I think you can train grit. I think you can do it. I think you can train bottle. And I don't know if it's just quite the same for him on live, but we all saw what it was like when he had a sniff in a major.
Yeah,
that was
brilliant,
unbelievable.
Well, we've talked about that. He's got that look to him where he's just like,
Yeah.
nothing phases him, right?
Talk about someone who's just like just up for major championships. It's him, like.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. He is unbelievable. But even on that mindset, talk about knowing yourself. He just knows who he is. And he's not going to beat around the bush. Not going to waste any energy. This is me, and I just want to go and win.
He's one of the lads that, like, when you're watching, even at Oakmont last week, you're like, it's quite exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when he gets in the mix, you know.
That's what I love about the majors, though. At the moment, it's at least you're getting everyone back in the same field. You see them all sort of play together. It's great, isn't it?
Definitely. Next one, Paul. Worst shot you've seen on tour and who?
Worst shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got one. I don't really want to say it because I know he's struggling. I think he's struggling with the swing yips, and I don't really want to
throw him under the bus.
I don't really want to throw him under the bus, but I've seen some. I'm just going to say I've seen some absolutely horrific stuff. So when you're looking down a fairway and you're with your partners, and ball goes off, and it goes off on a bit of a funny angle. You might move your eyes, to see where the ball goes. I've done this before now. It's literally had to do that because it's over there. But yeah, I think he's got a couple of. So I'm not going to.
Okay.
I'm not going to divulge.
That's fine.
You see, before I go into this last one, we were just we're doing our homework on you, Paul.
Here we go.
I had to laugh at that Instagram video. I don't know where you were, but you, Al, and Sully were going up the fairway, and it's like I don't know if it's a dragon or what it is.
The biggest lizard.
Oh, the lizard, the iguana, remember in Singapore.
Oh my God, how funny was that? You were in stitches as well. You just hear Sully
the
going.
fact that it kind of like moved for the cameraman. We were doing a challenge for DP World Tour. It was me and Sully just doing a 9-hole challenge, and so we're in kind of like buggies. We've got a full camera crew with us, and then obviously looking for a bit of B-roll.
Yeah.
And this next thing is massive. He must have been 15 foot. He was a big boy, and he's just on the side. So obviously the cameraman's got him and we're kind of like walking past. Next thing,
it just takes off, right?
Well, he's kind of figured out he's surrounded, twitched, and then he's kind of gone straight at the cameraman, and he's bricked it. Sully's then rolling around on the floor because he's had to like dive out the way. Me and Al are just dying laughing.
It's when Al goes to get his camera in the bag and it's charging towards him. He doesn't even know.
It
was brilliant.
So we call him Wildlife Al because he loves it. He just does anything he can for
Tim said that to me today. Brilliant.
Wildlife Al.
So obviously you're in the Team Cup.
Yep.
Just give us an idea of what it is like to share a changing room with like Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood.
I'll be honest with you, that was probably my best golfing experience, even beyond the win.
Really?
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was such an amazing week.
Wow.
So obviously I just won in Abu Dhabi, just got a PGA Tour card, and I was kind of itching to get over and start playing over there. Obviously I still wanted to commit, a few weeks to playing in Dubai in the UAE. And obviously Team Cup was the start of that. So I spoke to Paul McGinley and Luke Donald prior to it, just saying, look, is Team Cup not a bit of a mess around, but is it something to really focus on and play in, or should I be getting over to America and start my PGA Tour career? Mm-hmm. And everyone said it's Ryder Cup. Everything you're going to experience at Team Cup is exactly how it is at Ryder Cup.
Really?
And that's the whole idea of it.
Okay.
So while it is an event between GB&I and Continental Europe, everything else, from like getting you kind of used to how little time you get on the golf course because you've got media obligations and a few of the other bits and bobs that go on, and like the team wall going up and like all the team room the way it is. And as coming back to your question, what to like sharing a room with these guys, every night Justin's giving us a little speech and a little talking to and all that, and and someone like Tommy and Tyrrell are there, and then we've got a few legends knocking around as well. Ollie was there.
Brilliant.
Who else was there? I can't remember who was there. Obviously, Luke's knocking around. Paul McGinley's knocking around. Thomas Bjorn's knocking around, and it's kind of like everyone's for GB&I or Continental Europe, but everyone's there to try and give the best experience that they can for what you're gonna go into for Ryder Cup, and that's the whole idea of it. So it's, well, some people will be like, oh, it's just a Team Cup or whatever. It's not. Honestly, it was one of the best events I've ever played in.
Really?
Amazing. I don't know if it was true, but I heard a rumour that Luke Donald had prepped someone to go out on the course.
Oh yeah, we had a heckler.
He did.
We had a full-blown heckler. We had booze and screams pumped out for the PA system on the first tee to simulate what will come in when we're in Bethpage later in the year. It's Bethpage, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he was trying to get us into a position of uncomfortableness. I'm going to say of being uncomfortable,
But it wasn't a random guy going out shouting at you. Was it over a PA system?
Yeah, he was still cutting. Yeah, he still gave it to you properly, like.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was.
He's a great captain, Luke Donald, isn't he?
He is. He is. I was made up that he was going to do a second term. I do think, personally, I think winning an away Ryder Cup is probably the hardest thing in sport right now.
Yeah, especially there. That's going to be tricky.
And even before the teams come out, I think it is difficult. The only one thing that could possibly happen is that New York crowd. It can turn against a tone if they're not delivering and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the other side of it is, there's so much stuff going on at the moment. The PGA Tour players are going to get paid to play this year and all that sort of thing, which I think is shocking.
Yeah.
In total honesty, I know I'm a PGA Tour player, but if you can't turn up and play Ryder Cup just for what's on your chest, I don't know where we are here, boys. I really don't. It's not quite right, that, for me.
No, right.
Last one, Paul. In one word, you're going to describe your teammates that you played with. So we'll start with Justin Rose.
Legend.
Laurie Cantor.
One word. Assassin.
Assassin. Okay. Tommy Fleetwood.
That's fair with Jesus, isn't he? I'm just going with that.
Yeah, we can do
just
that.
Just cool. A night. What? How could I describe Tommy in one word? This is difficult because his personality and his golf game are so different. Because I was going to use the word clinical because that's what his golf game's like, but he's not. He's more fun than that. I'll come back to that one.
Okay. Charles Hatton.
Loon.
Lunatic. Tom McKibben.
Say about Tom. Promising.
Love that. Aaron Rye.
Clinical.
Jordan Smith.
Jordan Smith. Oh, that's a tough one. He's very, very, very good, Jordan. Oh, again, I'll have to come back to that one.
Okay. Matt Willis.
Intense.
Matthew Jordan.
Golfer, scorer.
Love that. So we'll come back to Tommy.
Role model.
Love that. Who did we miss out there?
Jordan
Smith.
It's so hard to say one word for him. It's such. What would I say about Jordan?
Even as a person.
You know what? I'm just going to go with potential.
Love that. Cool. And last but not least, Paul Wearing.
Bald.
I didn't want to say it.
Oh, no.
Oh, that killed me.
Paul, thank you so much. That was brilliant end to the podcast. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. It was superb.
Yeah, thank you very much for your open and honest.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant, honestly, mate. Absolutely superb. So, guys, Paul Waring's podcast will be out next week. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. That's us done, Tom.
Well done, mate.
Thank you
very much.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks
Thanks a lot. Cheers.